Is it time to deadhead? I'm Joyce Riney in Davis County, one of the master gardeners here, and it's July in Kentucky and it's pretty hot. But if you are like me and you started out in the spring and you planted a lot of nice flowers in your yard or in your garden and you've wanted to keep those blooms going the whole season, you might find that some of your flowers are beginning to look a little faded, or maybe they're going to seed. And so today we want to talk about the use of deadheading to keep our flowers looking better. I have tools with me today, 3 different types of tools. I have snippers, and these snippers are like scissors, but they're a little sharper, and that's a really good tool to use for deadheading flowers. You can also use garden shears. Garden shears are a little heavy duty, and they can cut stems that are a little bit thicker perhaps than a smaller flower. And then we also have shears, and shears are used more to deadhead large groups of flowers that you might take too long to use just the smaller type of clippers. Okay. When we deadhead, we're talking about basically a process of just pinching. You're pinching off the top of the bloom, trying to remove it so that it looks better. But it's not just to make remove the dead growth or the faded flowers. When we're doing that, what we're actually doing is putting more energy into the plant, because when we deadhead, we're removing that, and it's keeping the flower from actually spending all of its energy producing seeds. And when it produces seeds and it's using all that energy, the energy is not staying in the plant to help produce more blooms. So when you're talking about deadheading, what you want to do is to remove those blooms or those faded flowers, and we're going to show you techniques today in order to do that, to keep that energy in your flowers and keep your garden looking prettier, so that all that work you've put in to create a beautiful garden or to create wonderful looking flowers will remain throughout the season. Okay, so I'm going to use my snips here to clip this particular coneflower. It's got a little damage on it and it's beginning to look ugly. So we're going to take the snips and we're going to go down to the first leaves, and we're going to snip right there and remove that. Okay, here's another verbena over here, and some of these are beginning to look faded, and even though their stems look quite different, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go down to the first leaf and snip and remove that. And same thing, any of the items that you see that you think look faded, based on your knowledge of your garden, we're going to clip those out and remove them. Okay, now we're over to a different kind of flower, but it's the same technique. We see a flower that's looking pretty terrible, and so we're just going to clip it at the leaf. And when we clip this, what it's going to do is create a extra set of leaves coming out on either side, so it's going to reproduce flowers more, and that's what we want to achieve. And so we have another one here that's bent. It's probably one that I bent, and so I'm going to stop and snip it at the first. This one is a little bit damaged in a way to our eye because it doesn't have all the foliage around it that we would like to see have it filled out quite as well. So we're going to snip it in the same place, and we'll be looking for those extra pieces of foliage to come out to produce more blooms. Okay, here we have a daylily, and we're going to demonstrate to you how to use the snips in order to trim a daylily, and we're going to use a pinching technique with our fingers. We're doing this for demonstration purposes only, because ordinarily with such a beautiful flower we wouldn't be removing that or taking it, and you would want to wait until your daylily finished its bloom, and then when it dies you would come back and you would still remove it in the same way by pinching it off. And then one of the reasons that we're doing that is because if that's your last bloom, then your plant's going to start producing these seed heads. And that's where all the energy is going to go to the plant. And if that happens, then you're going to have foliage that looks like this. And your daylilies are going to look pretty ugly. And so in order to try to keep your garden looking beautiful, after you remove that last bloom, then you would go back to the base of the plant. You would take your snips and you would cut that plant back about an inch or 2 inches from the bottom, and that's going to help that recreate new green foliage. It's not going to help it bloom again because these are daylilies and they only bloom once, but it's going to produce better looking foliage for your garden. It's going to keep your garden looking attractive. All right, here's another type of flower that we're going to talk about deadheading, but we're going to do this one a little bit different. This is a bubblegum petunia, and it's the type of flower that will lose its blooms on its own. You don't have to actually come out and deadhead it by hand, but because of the nature of this petunia, it's beginning to look quite leggy, and you see these long strings coming out. And so by taking the shears and trimming this bubblegum petunia, we're going to be giving it sort of like a new life. It's going to be a little bit healthier of a plant, and it's going to look a lot better if we do this. So I'm going to take the shears and I'm going to give it a haircut. I'm going to kind of clip through here and make it almost look a little bit more like a shrub. And I'm going to be losing a lot of those pretty blooms, maybe blooms I don't want to necessarily get rid of, but in the long run, I'm going to be helping this plant look better, look healthier, and have a little bit more energy because I'm removing a lot of these blooms. You can kind of see the difference in the looks of the plant when we've sheared it. Remember to use your snippers as you're clipping and deadheading. Just remember too that if you just deadhead 2 or 3 times a week and try to be consistent, you're going to be surprised at how many blooms you have in your garden and how much better your garden looks. If you have any other questions about deadheading, contact your local extension office.